I said, we're going to go over some very basic things about how to use A360 Team and navigate your hub, as well as get into projects and some things to help you learn projects a little bit better, because projects and viewing are kind of the meat and potatoes of A360. The first place I want to start is we go to our A360 landing page, which is Autodesk360.com, and in the upper right-hand corner, we have the sign in. And I want to point out just a couple other cool things that we have here, too, in case you're not sure where they are. We have the community. That'll take you to the forums. And we also have the blog, where you can post, read blogs on things that we put up there about some of the things we've worked on. A great place to learn new things about A360. And with that, I'm going to click Sign In. And I'm already logged in, so it takes me straight to the hub, as you can see. And by default, the first time you sign in with an existing hub, it opens up to the project view. And so you can see all the projects I have here. I'm just going to scroll down a little bit. And I've got quite a few. And if this is not where you want to go, and it's also not where we're going to start the demo, if you know this is the project you want to work on, you're going to just click on it and go from there. In our case, we're going to go to the dashboard. So I'm going to go up here to the first panel. I'm going to show you a couple tips. If you take your mouse and just kind of slowly run it across the top, you'll see these are actually links that will take you to the dashboard of your panel. So the logo, A360, or just click on dashboard itself. That takes me right there to the two panels and the activity feed. We're going to start at the top panel here. I gave you a tip about that. Also, if you roll your mouse over these first two, it tells you the name of your hub. In my case, it's called AutoCAD. And then I'm going to move over here to search. And I've been working on this project, something my wife's been wanting me to do for a while. And I've uploaded this file a while ago, and I can't quite remember the name of it. So I'm going to use the search feature. It's very powerful, and it's going to search everything in the hub. And I can't remember the entire name. I know part of it is 902. So I'm just going to type that in there. I'm going to click Enter. And that's going to bring up a list of everything 902 related in my hub. Now, the one thing I want to point out here while we're looking at this is if you're the owner, you're going to see pretty much everything. If you're a project contributor, you're only going to see the things in the projects that you belong to. In this case, my search results are going to go through projects, and the very top hit is a drawing, which is what I'm looking for. So I could click on that. That's going to launch the viewer and let me take a look at it. I can also, if it's not what I want, I can come over here to the right, and you can see there's some filters here. And I could say filter just to me. I could filter the file type, and I could also filter to what the files are stored in. So that's kind of a powerful thing. In this case, I'm just going to click on this real quick. That's going to bring up the viewer. The viewer up, it's a simple drawing in AutoCAD that shows the information. Actually, this is the DoFX. Shows all the information I need. We'll go a little bit more over the viewer a little later, but I wanted to show you how search work. Now, when I click Exit to come out of here, you're going to notice it drops me into the project. It doesn't take me back to the dashboard. So here's your first tip for the day. If you click Dashboard, because maybe that was what you did, but you don't want to do any more work in the project, so you want to go back. So click on Dashboard. That's going to take you back to where we started. So that's the search, very powerful. Next up, we have Progress. This is cool. This is one of the newer features we've added in the last few updates. What I like about this is you can see I've got green circles and checks and red X's. So I know right away if something's failed or succeeded. In this case, for example, I've copied some files over from my A360 Drive account to my A360 Team account. I see a green check, so I know it worked. When I'm doing this, what's kind of cool about this is I don't have to sit and babysit it and watch it. I can come back and check it later by going through the progress here. I also have failures, so you can see a while back I had 3 failures here. That lets me know it didn't upload for whatever reason, so I know to go back and take a look at that and figure out what the problem was. Next up, we have alerts. This is kind of cool. You can see alerts on files. You can see alerts on requests to join projects, this type of information. If someone's accepted your request to join a project, it's a great way to keep track of everything in the project through alerts. Now we're going to go over here. We're going to click on the profile picture. This shows a lot of information. We could probably spend a hangout just going over everything in this section. It shows the name, a picture, the account information. It also shows the name of your hub. It also shows the link to your hub. You've got profile, settings, invite, and admin. And then you also have 3 other hubs that you belong to here at the top. So you can switch hubs that way, or you can go into admin and switch, or settings, sorry, and switch hubs that way. We're not going to spend a lot of time there. We're going to try to keep this simple, but that's something that we're going to look at for doing in a future Hangout. And then here's my favorite one. I'm going to click on the question mark. That's help. We have 3 options in here. We have help, community, and feedback. So just like in the Autodesk 360 website I showed you, you can go to the community that way and share feedback. You can also click here to get help. It launches a second window. What I like about that is when that window opens, it opens separately so I can toggle back and forth between the two while I'm working on things. Or if I have dual monitors, I could split these apart and see what I'm working on at the same time. In this case, in the upper left corner, we can expand the A360. We can click on the first thing, what is A360? It gives you some information about A360 and how it works. We also have the dashboard, which is a lot of what we're going over right now. So a lot of this information, if you aren't quite sure about something, you can come back here and check this out. You can also go into projects. So there's a lot of great help in here. Also, I'm a kind of guy, I like to read things. It kind of sinks in a little better that way. But if you like videos, a lot of people like videos, you can also come down here, click on this, click on the A360 video, and now you can start watching videos on the same thing. So about the tour, getting started. And then I'm going to click down here on references. So for example, if you're not sure that your browser is supported, or if you want to know if there's any kind of browser requirements, you can come down here and reference, click on this, and you can see right off the bat that Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, and Apple Safari are supported. We are currently working on an issue with Internet Explorer. Microsoft's aware that there are some issues, and they're working on a fix for us. So stay tuned. We should have something there soon. But for your best experience, we recommend using Google Chrome. And I would even recommend that over Firefox. They both work great, but Chrome allows you to drag and drop folders as well as files, where Firefox and Safari don't support that. And then here's another very cool thing in the help. This is all the file types. So say you uploaded a file and you're not able to view it and you're wondering if it's supported, you can come over to help, click on viewable file formats, and you can scroll through this list and see all the different file types that we support. And you can see there's quite a few. There's over 100 in here now. And that's not just CAD files. There's also files like Word and Excel, MOV, things like that, video files, all kinds of cool stuff. And with that, we're going to click back over here. Nisha, my mouse is unhappy. Do we have any questions at this point?
Not at the moment, but I think we're good to proceed. And I saw a couple of people who entered our demo a little later. Just a reminder, folks, we're taking questions throughout the demo, right? So don't feel shy. If you've got questions, just ping us on a little chat window that you see right there, and Bud and I are happy to answer them. Over to you, Bud.
Okay. My mouse is now working again, so we're good. So now we're going to go over the second panel, which this is kind of like the meat and potatoes of what you're going to do in A360. So we've got projects, we've got data, people, calendar, and wiki, and then upload and create. So let's go back to projects. So if I highlight over that, I get a list of all the projects that are, in this case, pinned, and pin is a trick that you can use to show the projects you want to work on currently. And you can also click on all projects, and what that's going to do is take you where you were the first time you logged in from the microsite. So it's a way to get back and see all the projects. Maybe you've got projects that you can't remember the name of, like our internal A360 site. There's so many things in there now, I can't see them all on the list anymore. So I'll either do it this way or I'll search. So that's a great way to do that. And again, my tip from earlier, click dashboard, that takes you back. And then data, this is pretty cool. So like you saw on the project view, I have an icon that shows and matches up what my project icon or logo is. So you can see I've got a power button, I've got a hat, I've got a crown. There's all kinds of cool stuff in here that you can see pretty quickly. And the idea there is it helps you match up the data folder to the project folders that you're working in. You can also, right now, this is the thumbnail view. If you start getting a lot and you want to scroll through it a little quicker, you can go over here to a list view. These are changeable. And you can see the owner, the file type, and also the last modified. And then there's this here that gives you a combination of a folder view and the icon, and that it's a project folder. So kind of different ways to sort your data. And I'm going to click on, if any of you out there are using A360, this is awesome for you because you can click on this right here. And that's going to bring up a view of all the A360 folders and that's the A360 drive folders. So if you want to come over here and check out, for example, I have an alerts test, I can open that. And here I see I've got a couple drawings in here, and I can open those, view those, whatever I need, and I'm still in A360 team looking at my A360 drive data. So again, that's right here, that's your tip right there. I'm going to click dashboard, I'm going to take myself back. Now let's take a look at people. One of the things people are talking about, we're inviting people. This shows you all the people that are in your current hub. So you can see, I see all people following and followers. We'll go over that a little bit more when we get into the project. But if you scroll down, you can see I've got quite a few people in here right now. Another tip, if you're looking to see if someone's in here a little quicker, you might switch to the list view and scroll that way. It makes it easier to see. I'm going to go back to the thumbnail. I kind of like the thumbnail. We also have invites. So you can click on this and you can invite people. Just remember that you can't use mail lists, but you can use first their email address, and you can also separate them with a comma when you're inviting them. And so that's people. So let's go into calendar. There's two types of calendars when you're using A360. There's the calendar for the hub, that's what this is, and there's a calendar for your team. We'll talk about the team calendar more in a minute. So right now you see I don't have a lot in here, but I do have today's Hangout in here. So my tip here would be, if you're going to use the calendar feature, put calendar information here that relates to the entire hub, and then use the other calendar in the project for things that relate to that project. If you want to, the calendars don't link up directly with like Outlook or your Google Calendar, but we do allow you to export. So what you want to do there is create your calendar, then click export. That's going to give you a link and also some text that tells you the different file formats they support when you export your information. And then let's go over to the wiki. This wiki is for the project, and it's based around anything in the project. Same thing in this case, I've created one that says Hangout Wiki, so I use it to keep track of ideas I have for upcoming Hangouts. I haven't put a lot in here yet, but for example, I saw, here's one I put in this morning, says how to use the wiki in A360. We could probably do half of a Hangout just on that. It's a cool feature. But you could put information in here, specific information you wanted to share with people on the project, or sorry, not on the project, on the hub that had to do with the things you're working on. And then upload. This is where you're going to upload files. Again, if you're using Chrome, you can drag or drop to here. You can select files or folders and change the destination. And then create. I'm just mousing over this to show the list. You don't have to actually click on it. And if you come down here, so projects, so if I want to create a project, I can click on that. If I want to send a message to anyone, I can click on that. If I want to create a link to something, I can use this. The event is the calendar. You can create a poll. And that's the first two panels for basic navigation into A360. How are we doing on questions, Nisha?
Yeah, we have a great question from Andy. And Andy sounds like a teacher. So, hey, Andy.
Hi, Andy.
He was like, if he happened to be teaching a CAD class, and can you use A360 to have his students submit their homework to review it?
You could. I've answered this on the forums a couple of times, and it's a great question. I actually think that A360 would be awesome, excuse me, awesome for teachers. And the idea would be, you would, as a teacher, you could create projects or you could create a project for each class and a folder for each student, and they could upload their files to those folders. And you could even have subfolders in there where they could create whatever the lesson plans are. They can upload their files there each day when they're done working on them. Then you could go in there. You can even just use the viewer to take a look at it, leave comments to them. They can see the comments and comment back to you. So if you want to point out something, hey, this is really cool. You've done a nice job here. Maybe the fillet's not quite right or something like that, whatever the lesson plan is. So yeah, this would be an excellent tool to use in a classroom situation. So next up is the activity. So any guys that have used any kind of social media is kind of familiar with this. I was talking with a customer early this week, and he actually really liked the fact that this kind of imitates like Facebook, for example, because he can see over here in the hub activity all the information he wants quickly. So when he comes to the dashboard, he looks, he can see anything in here that shows up that he wants to see quickly in case he needs to react to it. He can also go over here to the right and see recent things that's a little bit more detailed. Like you can see, here's my drawings and the information that I've uploaded and some different things I've been working on, some markup stuff I did in mobile, that type of stuff. And the other thing is, I have my Hangout over here. You have the ability to do what they call featuring an item. So you could take this item, in this case the Wiki, feature it, so when someone signs into the hub for the first time, they're going to see this. They can click on it. I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and it's going to take you over there. We'll see if it's going to do it. Ah, there it goes. Okay. So it takes you to the Wiki so you can see it. So it's a kind of a way to profile stuff if you want to show them things. Right now it's limited to the Wiki, but it's a nice way to bring people in. And that was the recent stuff. Oh, you can sort this a little bit. You can do anyone or just yourself. And then same thing to the My Hub or My Network. And that covers the navigation for the hub itself. And if we have any more questions, we can go ahead and take those now. If you guys have anything about this area, let Nisha know, and she taught me. Otherwise, I'm going to move on into projects. Sounds like we're good. So I'm going to click on or actually, I'm just going to mouse over projects. This has a drop-down. And you can see here's my list of projects. I'm going to start with the Tips and Tricks project. This is one I use. We did a Tips and Tricks a while back, and I used this one to demonstrate how to do certain things. And it's a great one to show the layout of how a project works. Right off the bat, you'll notice all the information that was in our second panel is also right here in the project. So you see project, and then data, people, calendar, and wiki. So it's all the same. The difference is this now is specific to your project. So it's not showing all the other information. So in my case, it's Tips and Tricks. I can see the members. I can see activity. I can see my DWF file I uploaded that we looked at a little earlier, and some other information. I come over here to the right, and I see I have, actually, I'm going to click on this. I have 4 things I've featured. So I have a wiki I've featured. I have a doc that I actually wrote for a blog called Tips and Tricks, and I uploaded that there and featured it so you can see it and click on it and view it. And then I have a video that you can click on and watch the video. It's how to do markup in A360 Mobile. And then I have a remote control car, which is a great example of 3D and some of the things you can do in the viewer. So you can see a lot of the same things you saw in the hub, except for now it's focused on the project. And again, the featured is a great way to bring people to see things when they first come into the project. So let's click on the data. And this gives a folder view just like we saw before. And we can switch that view at any point and see the names in a list, or we can go to a list view. I like the folder view. And I'm going to scroll down. You see a tip I have here is think of it like your hard drive and folders on your hard drive. You don't want to stick everything in the root. And you can see I actually have 2 files in the root folder, but everything else is in a folder specific to what I'm doing. I have AutoCAD folder, some stuff that I'm sharing from Box through mobile, so it uploads there. I've set that up. I've got some emails I've shared, some videos, Revit files. It's a nice way to break it out so you know right away when you're looking at the files. I've got some GoPro videos over here. And I'm going to click on this because this is a great viewing demo file. And it's a Fusion remote control car. And notice that while this is loading, I can start manipulating it. I don't have to wait. And to our friend Andy, the teacher, this is what I was talking about earlier. So you can actually start looking. You don't have to have Fusion or AutoCAD or Inventor on your machine to see this. You can actually, as long as the files are uploaded properly, you'll be able to view them, manipulate them, rotate them. I can click on it, right-click, isolate it. Now I'm just looking at the pipe. I can show all details again. I can double-click on that spring and zoom right into it, and then I can right-click again and isolate. I mean, this is just a very cool feature. I mean, the viewer is so powerful here. Let's show all objects again. And this is just the standard view. I'm on a 24-inch monitor. You can't tell this, so it's filling up about 3/4 of my screen right now. I can come down here, and I can go full screen. And so that's all I see, especially if you're trying to work with a client or someone and show them this information. They could be at their office. You could be at yours. You could both be looking at the model and commenting on it. I'm going to hit escape, get out of full screen. Over here to the left, there's different information. It shows you the version. This is version 1. It's the latest. If I had multiple versions, they would show up here. We don't delete them. They stay there. You can't view the previous version, but you can click on it and download it and look at it that way if you need to go back to an older version. That's this right here. So there's nothing in here. And I have no materials in here. Oh, here we go. Here we go. This is specific to Fusion, but I can also look at some of the higher resolution renderings that you can see. This is also very cool. And then you can search. So you could search through the drawing, like, for example, if I click on this and isolate. I can show the wheel. I could type wheel over here and do the same thing. Show all objects. And then I can also look at the views. And there's also a toolbar down here. So there's my orbit. Pan, zoom in and out. If this were a house I could do a walk to, I can change some of the views as far as how the camera works. And the model structure that I was just talking a little bit about, so I'm going to bring that up. You can move these around. I can move the model around. Notice it dims when I move over the model. And I can start clicking on things, and you see it starts isolating based on what you're clicking on. So if you don't know what you're searching for by name, you can do it this way, or you can also click in the model itself. If you see what you're looking for and you're not sure, you can do this, and notice it starts highlighting those over here in the properties. So that's a cool feature. Another thing that's really impressive about this that is I can explode it. So if you want to start finding parts, you can take this thing apart. I can zoom out. I can zoom in. I can pan over. I can start seeing more details on the engine. There's my spring. I see some of the assembly for the axles, the gears, all kinds of cool stuff. And again, I'm rotating it. This is a low-end machine with what I would call a gamer graphics card, and it works great in here. So awesome, awesome for viewing and sharing. And I can unexplode it, come back up here, and then I can reset my model. I can go into properties. Again, we were looking at that. You have to select something to see the details. And there's settings in here. Maybe you're not a big fan of the background color. Let's get up here. Let's do dark sky, which doesn't work very well. That's not bad. And then I can also go to photo booth. So you can kind of play around with different things. This is not persistent, so it's only during the session. But if you've got a model that's not quite giving you the contrast you like, this is a great way to make it a little more viewable. And then again, we showed you the full screen. So there's the viewer. Any questions at this point, Mandy? Nisha?
A question from Srinivas on the viewer, right? He was asking, will you be able to search for content inside a drawing?
You can, and that's what I was showing. So you can manually type search as I get the search. And let me get up here. We hit enter, and this will hopefully bring up the wheel. We were having a little issue earlier today, and so normally it will bring up wheel, which is the same thing as this. Whoops, that's the rim. And it will show the 4 wheels or the 2 wheels, and then you can start isolating through. But we're working on that, so it's work in progress. So yeah, you can definitely search. So the deal is, if you look at the model structure here, that you have to know what the name is. So if you type bud, it's not going to find anything in here. But if you type wheel or body or brake, front, rear differential, anything like that, it's going to find it for you, and you're not going to have to go searching for it. So yeah, and there's 2 ways. You can do it here, or you can scroll through the model, or you can manually go through and pick it. Like I can start looking at the rear axle and differential that way, or the hub and the rim. Does that answer that one for you?
Yep.
And what was the second one?
The second one was, he had a question about connecting A360 to Box and Dropbox. And how do you connect file shares that are inside corporate firewall? Okay,
so the drop and the Dropbox right now do not work in A360 Team. If you're using our mobile A360 viewer, you can actually access not Dropbox, but Box. So that's why I had the Box example there. I can actually go to Box on my mobile device, click on a file, say open with select A360 mobile, and it uploads it to the A360 team and project account, and then translates it to make it viewable so I can view it back on the mobile device. We're working at adding things like this in the future, but they're not there yet. The second one, these are all standard ports that are used because it's a web browser. So I think it's 880 is the standard port you want to have open. If that's not it, send an email to our Ask A360 alias or go out to our forums and post a question, and I can find out more details. But I have not seen very many people that are unable to use the viewer because of a firewall issue, unless your company has really locked things down tight. And it won't just be us that doesn't work, and there'll be a lot of web-based things that won't work.
Or even file sharing, right?
Yeah, same with file sharing. Yeah, there's no applications on here. It's all web-based.
Great. Thank you, Bud.
Sure. And just to expand on that a little bit, as I'm saying that, that's what makes this such a powerful tool is you could have a client you're working with that doesn't have Fusion or Revit or AutoCAD, and they can be viewing this same file and looking at it without installing that expensive software on that expensive piece of hardware. Like I pointed out earlier, this machine, I think I paid $900 for this computer at Costco. It's a very low-end machine, but it works great for doing these demos. So let's go, one last thing. Let's do the calendar we talked about. That's specific to the project. And the wiki, I have an example of a wiki in here, what you can use it for. In this case, I've got a table. I've changed the text to a bold white and a blue background. And these are just some things you can use. I've seen us use for wikis internally. So team awards, track travel for projects, project notes, project schedule. For example, I meet with a couple different customers weekly, and when I meet with them, I use a wiki to track it, and I write the notes in there. You can also do bulleted lists, so there's some basic formatting. You can add images, you can add videos, you can link to documents, and you can create a hyperlink that uses what I call friendly text, so link to tips and tricks document, and this is the actual link here that I have up there. So it's like adding a hyperlink. And then same thing here, it's another example. So this links to a drawing and then the actual link. And then let's just go into the editor just for a second. We're not going to actually edit anything, but just to show you how the controls work. So if you've got stuff that's kind of large while you're working in the wiki, you can click on that to get out there and see more of it. And you can see, oh, that's interesting. Let's go back. Here are all the controls. So you can create different fonts, quotes. You can add links. Attach files, videos, create tables, some basic font work. The biggest tip I can give for wikis when you're working with them is they're very cool, they're very powerful, as long as you use them to the capability they're designed to work. They're very simple in that sense. So if you go beyond using them past something like this, then they're just going to be frustrating. But if you use them at this capacity, they're very powerful. And with that, I'm going to click on Dashboard. And I talked earlier about creating a project. So if you're new and you've never created a project, you want to create your first project. And I suggest the first project be something specific to just you, so you can practice. And I have one right here. It's called Bud's Practice Sample Project that I've already created. And you can see I've already added a logo to it. It's got some data in it. I've added myself to it. So you can see requests. There's none. Invited. You can see I've invited a couple people to it. Let's go to people, and then calendar. There's a calendar. So you can practice using a calendar. No one's going to see it but you. And then the wiki itself. And then, so that's let's go back to the project. Click on that. And like I said, I've got some files in there. It's a place where, like for me, what I use this for is somebody will post a question about something maybe I haven't tried yet or I haven't dove deeply into yet, and I want to test it out. I will put it in this project and practice with it and see how it works, and then go reply to the question. You can do the same thing. You can use this practice project to figure out how you're going to use A360, how you're going to upload files, and to make sure they're viewing properly. For example, I've got this personal computer that's an inventor project, and it's an assembly, so I uploaded it as an assembly. So I had to try a couple times before I totally understood what an assembly was. And I'm just going to rotate this up. And Nisha was adding about comments. So I'm going to add a comment. I'm going to click right there on the RAM. I'm going to put a comment that says, what type of RAM is used for this computer? And so now I have a comment, and it links to it. I can come over here. I can do some other stuff. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do a comment here. I'm going to click right here, and I'm just going to say, what is the base made of? And add that comment. And you can see I've got multiple comments in here. So now, if I click on 4, it rotates up and shows that part of the model. So, for example, our teacher, he was asking about stuff. So you can add a comment two apart, like you could be adding it to the fan, for example. And that takes you to the fan, and it'll rotate to the fan. So if you're asking the student a question, they can use the viewer to see what you're looking at. Same thing if you're working with a client. Maybe they've got a question about what type of diode is being used here on the motherboard, things like that. So that's our quick look at commenting. Let's go back into the project. And I'm going to
Hey,
create...
Bud, quick question while you're in the viewer. Andy also asked, can I search a mechanical DWG upload file and edit from anywhere?
You can't edit from anywhere. You can search some entities. DWGs don't have as many searchable nodes as other stuff, but there is stuff in there. The way it works is, let me see if I have an AutoCAD DWG here. Lighthouse, there we go. This is an AutoCAD drawing of mine, the lighthouse. And I'm going to click on this. I'm going to wait for it to view, and I'm going to come over here. I'm going to go to the 3D view. The other thing I want to show a Revit, don't let me forget to show a Revit model niche. I want to show the sheet sets and the 2D, 3D combination, which is what's really cool about this. So I could see this and leave comments. I could do some real basic searches on, let's see what shows up in here, model structure. So it just shows the primitives, as you can see. So it's a lot more limited on the AutoCAD side, but it's there as well, depending on what you name those primitives. And what you would do is if you download this by doing this right here, you see it downloads it, you can edit it, and this is what your students would do. They would download that revision, make the changes, and then upload it back up, and then you're going to see two in here. So like this was uploaded 5 months ago, so you'd see uploaded in the current timestamp. And then if you wanted to go to an older one, so say the student was working on something and you wanted to go back and look at an older one, same thing with the client. Some changes were made and the client maybe asked, hey, what about those other things? You could actually go back to that older version, download it, take a look at it, and upload another version that shows those changes so they can look at them. That covered that for you, Nisha?
Yep.
Cool. All right, so now, we've shown the project. I want to get into the settings of the project. Oh, no, I want to create a project, sorry. I'm going to create a new project. This is how I created the sample project. I'm going to click here. This just takes you to the creation. You can give it a name. I suggest you call it, your name, Bud's Test Secret Project. Bud's, fix my spelling. And then the purpose, put a description in there. Doesn't have to be real elaborate. You can always edit it later. By default, it's open. I suggest clicking on Secret. And the reason that I say secret is while you're practicing, anyone else you've invited to your hub, they're not going to see what you're practicing on. So it's what I call working with a net. So you can kind of figure out stuff. And if you want to invite yourself to a personal email or something like that, you can, as long as you have project contributors enabled, you can invite a team member or a project contributor and start playing around and seeing what those differences are. And then create. This is going to create the project. It's going to come up blank. And there's your canvas for starting and learning a lot more about A360. And that is our demonstration.